This happened just under 2 years ago. I was a park ranger for a large wilderness area that I'm not going to specify to remain anonymous. Welcome to Room 13, where every story hides a secret, a place where the unknown comes to life, and the eerie is all too real. Here, we uncover the chilling tales that lurk in the shadows. But it wasn't a commonly visited forest, though. A lot of other areas in the state were way more popular, even though the one I worked under was very large and dense. But with little visitation, the number of working park rangers was really low. My job varied, but often I'd be trekking up to campsites, keeping the forest clean, or occasionally doing search and rescues for hikers needing aid. Because people were allowed overnight camping and backpacking, our park always had several rangers working the graveyard shift just in case anything were to happen. I worked a lot of in-between shifts, usually getting off around midnight to sometimes 3 or 4 in the morning. This day, I had spent most of the afternoon at a campground in a remote area of the park, cleaning it up and ensuring it was safe and well maintained. I had taken an ATV a good portion of the way down the trail before it got more rugged and steep, and hiked the rest of the way to the campgrounds. While I was there, I didn't see any other tents or people set up at the camp. It was just me. I left just after the sun had gone down, hiking in the dark back to my ATV, then riding it carefully back down to the lodge where I was stationed at. The lodge was no more than a small cabin with a wood stove and a desk with a heavy-duty radio to contact other rangers or authorities with. An hour after I got there, rain started coming down. We got storms pretty often here, so this was nothing out of the ordinary. I brewed a coffee and sat at the desk, taking notes of the campground conditions I was just at. A couple hours passed when the radio suddenly clicked on and RAR's voice came through asking if I was there. I picked it up and asked what he needed. The ranger asked if I had seen someone at the campground I was at earlier. I said I didn't see anyone, not even a tent or sign of anyone having been there recently. There was a long 30-second pause before he responded. His voice sounded reluctant, saying he might need me to go back out there and take a look around. He seemed not too worried about it, but supposedly the ranger station had gotten a satellite SOS ping from someone, and the location of it was on the trail I was just on. I, of course, was the closest one. The other rangers were at least an hour away, so I was on my own for this one. He mentioned he didn't get any text or anything, though, and usually when we get an SOS alert, without any follow-up messages or responses, it's just an accident. Sometimes the buttons on those little devices get clicked while in someone's backpack without them knowing, but it's always best just to check it out in case there's a problem. Unfortunately, this time it happened to happen on a night it was pouring out. I grabbed my radio, raincoat, a headlamp, and a heavy flashlight, then left the lodge and started walking. A TV was no use in weather like this. It would have gotten stuck before even making it to the trail. I confirmed with the other ranger where the general location of the ping came from, and he said it was 2 miles up the trail. But because it was only one ping, they didn't know which direction they were going in. The walk took almost 45 minutes, which, given the conditions, was fairly quick. But I did get worried about if someone was out here walking around, maybe an inexperienced hiker or something. Because even with my high-powered headlamp and flashlight and familiarity with the trail, it was incredibly difficult to navigate the forest through this storm. The trail was hard to keep track of, and definitely without proper clothing, this could be really dangerous. When I was in the area, I shined my light all around, still continuing to walk along the trail, and suddenly, when I moved my flashlight across the forest, someone was standing there. It nearly gave me a heart attack because he was really close, just 10 feet off the trail. The man was completely soaked with long hair hanging down, not even wearing a rain jacket or anything. He looked delirious, but also concerned. I yelled through the rain, saying I was a ranger and asking if he was okay. He didn't respond, standing there in the storm and staring at me. It was then I noticed he had no gear on him. I didn't even see the satellite messenger, which, if he was the one using it, I would have thought it was clipped onto his backpack or in his hand or something. I waved for him to come toward me and get back onto the trail, telling him my lodge was just a few miles down. But suddenly, he just bolted deeper into the forest. He was out of sight within 10 seconds, entirely lost to the darkness and the rain. I quickly pulled out my walkie and let the other ranger know that I'd found someone and of the condition they were in. And this was kind of the point where I had to decide whether to try to follow him out there, which is pretty dangerous, or to wait on the trail. I stood unsure for a couple minutes, talking to the other ranger on the walkie and trying to figure out what to do. There was a chance this guy really was in need of help. Maybe had been lost for a while and was just delirious and paranoid. But during the couple minutes I was talking to the ranger, at some point he abruptly said, "Hold on." I waited a minute, and when he came back, he said he got another SOS ping from the same device and around the same area. He said it was just a slash 4 mile east of the last ping. That was directly where I saw the man running into the forest. It had to be him. But why the hell did he run away just to call for help again? Now further off the trail, I walked a little ways and trying to get my flashlight to reach a little farther. This was honestly the first time in my career being out there that I'd been shaken up enough so to question whether I could do my job. I had this feeling that if I didn't help, I'd be reprimanded, especially if it turned out the call really was someone needing help. I thought either he was delirious and scared, or maybe the guy was trying to lead me to the person that sent the SOS call. So I kept walking in, not really feeling like I had a choice. I walked for 5 minutes, shining my light everywhere and genuinely scared of what I'd find. I kept seeing the image of the guy standing there in the trees, and every time I thought about it, it made my stomach tighten up. And then after a while, my flashlight caught something sitting on the ground, a small device glowing dimly, more so reflecting the light from my flashlight back toward me. I immediately recognized what it was, a Garmin satellite messenger. I knew it because it was the typical ones that hikers go out with and has a pretty recognizable orange color and shape. Just when I thought, where was the person using it? I heard footsteps sprinting up to my right. I moved my flashlight over and saw that same guy barreling toward me. Not like he needed help, but like he was going to tackle me to the ground. He was so committed that even after I moved aside, he stumbled to the ground, still trying to grab onto me. I froze for a second, somehow still unsure what the hell was going on before he started getting up. And all it took was one clear look into his eyes to get me to start running away. His eyes almost looked lifeless, like he was in a fugue state. But they had this eerie darkness in them, hard to describe. But I knew the guy was dangerous, and definitely had been using the SOS signal just to kite me out there alone. Probably even saw me on the trail earlier, knowing I'd be coming out there alone. I ran for longer than I ever had, sliding and tumbling down some parts of the trail. I used my walkie to tell the other ranger that I thought it was all a setup and eventually got back to my lodge, locking myself in. It still took another 10 minutes for the ranger to make it and another 40 for an actual officer to arrive.
Hey, the stories aren't over yet, but consider subscribing and leaving a like. With a simple tap on the screen, you help our work a lot. Now, without further ado, let's move on to the next story.